used to end every single day wondering why I still felt behind. Even when I crossed 10 things off of my list, it wasn't laziness, it wasn't a lack of effort, it was the missing plan. Today I'm going to walk you through the exact weekly system that finally gave me momentum and peace and time for my kids without sacrificing my sanity. We are going to talk about how to break that lazy label that you keep slapping on yourself, exactly why other systems haven't worked for you, how to actually plan your homemaking in a way that's simple and realistic and sustainable and actually works with you instead of against you, and the simple planning system that replaces decision fatigue for good. So, one short planning session at the beginning of every week gives me peace and direction all week long. And the best part is, I do it without any guilt, with plenty of time and energy left for my family. So if you're trying to run your home and you're wondering why you're so exhausted and you're still behind, this is what actually works. I'm Cassie, I'm a certified life coach, and I'm a mom of 3 kids. For 13 years now, I've been a stay-at-home mom, and over the years, I've tried all of the charts, all of the checklists and cleaning schedules, and the only thing that worked long-term was actually creating a plan that fit the way God designed me to work best. And that's exactly what I'm about to show you. If you keep calling yourself lazy, you'll keep living that label as true. Back in the day, I would spend so much time comparing myself to other moms that I saw on Pinterest. I'm a total nerd. I've never been into Instagram, but I was on Pinterest all the time. Or the women at church who seemed to always have a smile on their face even when their kids were fighting, which was beyond me at the time. I didn't realize, but I was really measuring my worst against their best. People online, family stories, even houses on HGTV shows that I totally loved watching. If that's still a thing anymore, I don't even know. I seriously remember getting cable for the very first time. It was like 5 years into being married, and I had cable for the first time, and I thought that HGTV and Food Network were the greatest things. Anyway, those sources that I was looking at were showing me the best, let's say 5% of someone's life. And then I was looking at my whole messy 100%, wondering what the heck was wrong with me. And in my mind, I had this unspoken checklist of what a good mom accomplishes, which was spotless, perfectly decorated house and home-cooked meals every night, endless patience for her kids, and these perfect activities to do together. And I fell short all the time, usually in multiple areas, and I would just decide that I was lazy, even though when you really think about it, I was basically killing myself doing a zillion things every single day. I was really not being lazy. And here's the thing, mental overload often looks like physical inaction. I would start my day off tired because I had been already running through tomorrow's to-do list all the evening before. My brain was juggling meals and laundry and homeschooling and cleaning and grocery lists and appointments, all before I even ate my breakfast. And the real problem wasn't that I was lazy, it was that I was living in reactive mode. Every day felt like I was just responding to whatever fire popped up next. Cleaning the thing because someone was coming over, or making lunch early because everyone was really hungry and cranky, or dropping what I was doing because my toddler was whining. I was doing all those things instead of guiding my day with an actual plan that was going to work. And the more reactive I became, the more priorities that I missed, and the more behind I felt, and the more I reinforced that I must be lazy, that whole story in my head. And if you're a Christian mom like me, there is an extra layer, this whole faith and identity pressure that we feel. I believe that my role as a wife and a mom was sacred, and I still totally do. But I also believed that I had to carry it out flawlessly in order to be doing it right. And so when I didn't measure up to that image in my head, the one that's perfectly joyful and endlessly capable, I didn't see it as a mismatch in season or skill. I actually saw it as a flaw in me, as if God made me wrong compared to all these other people. And seriously, it was such a heavy way to live. The lazy label for us as moms isn't usually true. It's actually a symptom of comparison. These impossible checklists, the mental overload, living in reactive mode and all this spiritual pressure. And when we remove those things and actually start building your homemaking around the way that God actually made you, your strengths, your season, your energy level, that lazy label stops sticking. And that's exactly why before, when I wasn't taking those things into account, my plan never seemed to work. And that's probably why you're in the same boat right this very second. It's not that you can't follow through with a plan, it's that you're following the wrong blueprint. It's the wrong plan to begin with. So, for all those years, once I decided that I was lazy, what I would usually do to solve the problem was to go find a system that would fix me. I would go on Pinterest. Seriously, I loved Pinterest, you guys. I would ask friends. I would download free printables. If people even do that these days, I don't even know. I would borrow parenting books from the library because that was my idea of reading for pleasure. And I would just try to get my hands on the right way of doing things. And after gathering all this intel, I would get to work. I would color code things. I would make things look more beautiful. I would try all these new recipes or commit to this miracle morning routine that everyone was swearing by, where you wake up at 5 a.m. and exercise and read your scriptures and journal and make breakfast all before the kids get up, which I could never do for longer than a few days because that is not who I am. The thing is, these systems weren't bad. They worked for a lot of people, the people who were made to thrive in that specific way. But they weren't designed for me. They didn't account for my energy levels or my season of life or my specific kids or my personality or my strengths. And so every time that I couldn't keep up with them, it felt like proof that I was lazy instead of just being proof that the system wasn't a good fit for me. Well, what I have learned since then is that the homemaking plan you make has to start with you, your God-given wiring, your values, your season. That's why in my course, Mother Like You, I created the vibes. They're 4 personas that not only describe what a mom does, but actually reflects why and how she approaches those tasks. The emotional and the mental wiring that's unique to each of us applies to the kitchen, it applies to the home, and even your parenting. And when you know if you're more of Miss Devoted or Miss Clever or Miss Unashamed or Miss Inspired, those are the 4 vibes, you can build your plan in a way that actually works for you long term. So if you've tried a dozen systems and none of them have stuck, the problem isn't you. The problem isn't your discipline. It's just a mismatch between the system and the way God designed you to work. You need a plan that is customized to your real life, not the one you see someone else living. And once I figured that out, I stopped trying to do more or do it better or do it exactly like her. And I actually started planning my meals and my cleaning and my routines in a way that was actually simple and doable for me. I will say though, if your plan is too complicated, which we tend to do, it's not really a plan, it's just a prettier version of chaos. Once I stopped trying to copy other moms, I had to figure out what my homemaking plan actually looked like. And at first I went all in, like I do. I tend to do that. And I built these gorgeous weekly spreads with every hour filled in and labeled. And I'm a naturally organized person and I really thrive with structure. So I thought that I would do everything, or that everything would go well to have it all mapped out. My meal plan was juggling all these different factors, health and variety, and my cleaning plan had a deep clean each room in rotation. It was all very systemized, and my morning and bedtime routines were all written out flawlessly, ticking all the boxes. Seriously, I can get a little OCD, and I know that about myself. And it lasted for a bit until the whole thing collapsed again. Dinners were stressing me out, and kids were getting in the way of the cleaning time that I had budgeted for, and I was trying to force my perfect homeschooling morning onto my kids who really just wanted to start the day playing outside. And that's when I realized even if my plan looked good on paper, and even if it catered to my personality, it had to match my actual life. And what I found this comes down to for moms is figuring out their vibe and their season and their limits as well as their values. It's not enough to just know that I'm Miss Devoted in the kitchen who really values home-cooked meals, feeding my family, really nourishing them. I also need to accept that I'm in a busier season of life with older kids who have extracurriculars almost every night, which means I'm not always able to do dinner prep around dinner time. My plan has to reflect both my heart and my reality. And when it comes to my homemaking, I'm definitely Miss Clever, through and through, all the way, which means I love finding efficient systems and organizing things in a way that saves me time. And I always am going to look for shortcuts. That's just what I'm wired to do, that still get the job done, but do it, in the fastest way possible. And that's all great until I forget that my systems have to fit within my limits and align with my values. For example, I could not design the most efficient whole house cleaning rotation that you've ever seen and ignore the fact that in this season I have 20 to 30 minutes most days to clean. And so that rotation is going to collect dust, literally, right? And my values might be saying it's more important to have a calm, welcoming entryway than to scrub the baseboards in the guest room, right? They're very different. So knowing my vibe gives me insight into how I naturally work best, and then pairing it with my limits and my values keeps me from over-engineering a plan that I can't actually live out. A plan's purpose, remember this, is to make life easier and clearer. So if your plan is so detailed and so rigid or time-consuming that you can't realistically follow it, then it's not actually serving its purpose. It's just making the same exact chaos look organized on paper. So your plan should cover the bases in a way that actually fits your personality, your season, your limits, and your values, so that you can actually follow through with it without burning out. We want to avoid that. Most moms aren't tired because they're doing too much. They're tired because they're thinking too much. And here's the thing, okay? Once you know your vibe and accept your actual life, your to-do list almost starts to shrink on its own, all by itself, because you stop chasing all of these shoulds and start actually building the plan around who you really are and what actually matters in this season right now. When you plan from that place, you start filtering decisions very, very differently. You're not just asking, what should I do? You're actually asking, what works for me and what will matter most this week? Just like we all approach homemaking differently, we're all going to approach planning differently. You're probably hearing this like, oh my gosh, I would not even think to do all those things you're telling me to do. So let me kind of give you a rundown. Miss Devoteds would probably start with their family's needs and values in mind and just make sure the plan supports connection and care, because that's her top priority. Miss Clever, like me, looks for ways to streamline and combine errands and double recipes and set up the week to just be as smoothly running as possible and really seen as a system. Miss Unashamed's out there would really have plans with boundaries in mind, protecting her energy and focusing on what's absolutely essential and not feeling bad about it at all. And Miss Inspired, she's going to map out just kind of the anchor points so that there's a lot of freedom and flexibility to follow through as she feels throughout the week. So for me, let me just tell you kind of what this looks like. I thrive on efficiency and structure. I'm Miss Clever, remember, but it has to be the right kind. So I use a paper planner and a physical recipe box because that's just how I work best. Big giant calendars stress me out. And I like writing meals only where I can see them in case I change my mind throughout the week. I just don't like to answer to everybody else. Every Sunday I sit down and look at our schedule with my husband and I plan out meals based on what's actually happening, not some ideal version in my head of what that should look like. And then with every new season, I set up a fresh cleaning routine and a chore system for my kids. School just started for us right now, and so I'm revamping ours. And because consistency is one of my personal strong suits, it just comes naturally without even trying. Once we settle into that rhythm, the house runs like that well-oiled machine that is a priority to me. I have found over the years what is sustainable for me, for my kids, what's doable, what things are more of a chore for me than helpful for me, and I take all of that into account to just make sure it's working with me, making my life easier instead of the opposite. I like for my kids to know exactly what's expected of them. I like them to have a part that they play, right? Everyone knows their role, and I'm not scrambling to make it all happen all by myself or to give people new assignments. This is the power of planning in a way that actually matches your vibe and your real life. It's not about doing what I'm doing. Heavens, it's not about doing more. It's not about comparing yourself or trying to be better. It's about doing what works for you on repeat until it becomes second nature and feels actually easy. And when you have that kind of plan, homemaking feels less and less like a list that you can just never finish and more like a rhythm that you can actually start to enjoy. And now, if you're sitting here listening to this, like, okay, I want to start planning like that, but no idea, right, what vibe I am or how to even do that, then oh my goodness, you are in for a treat. My free masterclass, where I show you exactly how I found confidence as a mom without doing more and without becoming someone else. It's coming very, very soon, and I really don't want you to miss it. The best way to make sure that you're the first to know about it is to get on my email list. You can do that by grabbing the ebook in the description below. Click the link, sign up. You'll get the ebook for free, but mainly you will be on my email list so that you'll know when that masterclass becomes available. I know I say this every single time, but I really do mean it. You're amazing, and I'll see you soon.